What's going on, guys? Blazing Tech, and in today's video I'm going to be outlining how I went about installing this Atoto A6 PF Android head unit that touts wireless Apple CarPlay in my 2006 Mazda MX-5 NC. This is the cheapest way to get CarPlay that works, and this is the cheapest way to get a head unit that uses the factory Bose amplifier, and you can retain the factory steering wheel controls. Now, a lot of you guys may be thinking, I'm just going to order something off of Crutchfield, but what Crutchfield ends up doing is, in order to retain these, you have to buy some expensive things, and the wiring is a little complicated, but if you watch this video, I'm sure you're going to be able to understand the wiring of your NC, and what you're going to have the knowledge to do is go ahead and install something like this very easily. Alright everybody, what you're going to need to get this thing rolling is you're going to obviously need an Atoto head unit. This is the A6 PF. Now, supplied with the Atoto is the Atoto's wiring harness as well as those line out channels, and I'm going to put all the pictures and everything, and I'm going to kind of lay it down for you guys in a second. What I needed to retain the factory Bose amp was those line out channels. So essentially, these little converters come with the Atoto, and what they do is they convert high-level output to low-level RCA output from the Atoto. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is, as you can see, we're going to need two of these little converters, one for the front and one for the rear. These are the little solderless RCA plugs that I'm talking about. You'll need a total of 4, left and right, front and rear, one for each. And this is how they look. They have a positive and negative lead, and as you can see here, they connect to the low level, the line out channels that are provided. So this step down from high level to low level by that Atoto line out channel is going to allow us to use the power from the factory amp in the Mazda MX-5. Now, Crutchfield head units, they offer this in the installation stuff, but you end up having to pay a little bit extra. So it was very nice that Atoto supplied this for me to use, and it was included in the price of the head unit. Now, if your NC has no amplifier, then what you would go ahead and do is just connect the wires as you see them. They're color coded. You just spin them together, put some solder, and then connect them, and you don't have to worry about these line out channels. And that's honestly a little bit easier, but again, I want to retain that factory amp and use my Bose sound system. And you can get a bunch of these for pretty cheap. This really made the job very simple. And to get the steering wheel controls, you are going to need the Metra 7903, and you're going to need 2 of those. And the reason why you're going to need 2 of those is that you're going to need to add pins. From one of them, you're going to have to remove pins from one and then put the other extra 2 into the 7903. And that's again in the 1N and the 1P position. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. There's another video. I'm going to put that right here. You're going to link that down below too. If you watch that, I show exactly how to do it, exactly where to put it. And these are what the pins look like when you remove them. And then you go ahead and slide them right into the 1N and the 1P position on the one of your Metra harnesses, and then unfortunately you end up having an additional one, but maybe this will come in handy at another point in time. Now, this is part of a diagram that another content creator created for his YouTube channel. He installed a Sony deck, and if you look up how to install CarPlay on an NC, I think his name is Flywheel Productions or something very similar. Unfortunately, his diagram was a little off from my 7903, as well as other people that have done this kind of install on MX-5 Miata.net. So I didn't really use this, for all my wiring. I wasn't too concerned when my wiring was different, but this is a very helpful color-coded diagram, and it'll really give you the position of that 1N and 1P wire that you need to retain the steering wheel controls. So in my video where I show how to remove the pins, if you have this next to you and you see this diagram, you're going to really understand, and you're going to know that you can only really take pins from your Metra donor kit right there, your wiring kit, you can only use pins 1J, 1H, 1R, and 1G because those are the pin sizes that fit in the position that we need 1N and 1P. Other than that, other than the two 707903s, obviously, and the Atoto head unit, from Metra, depending on which NC you have, there's two designations. Since mine is an NC1, I'll leave that number right here up on the screen, and you're going to need a dash kit that it's going to look like this from the stock radio, and you're going to go ahead and remove screws here, and I show how to do that a little later. And you're going to install the climate control knobs on the new Metra kit, as well as for the A6 PF, I did have to mod it, and I did show how I modded it. If you're comfortable doing that, you can do that. Or some people went ahead and actually modified it, and they cut and they kind of shimmied down the Metra itself so it would click in perfectly. I didn't want to do that. We didn't want to do that. So what we did is we got one side in perfectly, and then on the other side we kind of had to mod it, and the Metra bracket was kind of not in place, but it was kind of off to the side, and we screwed it in. But that din is very, very light, so I don't really have any concerns with that coming loose, and we got it really, really tight on it. So contrary to popular belief, I'm going to go ahead and demystify the Atoto A6 PF wiring and how I did it and how I got it to work perfectly with the steering wheel controls and the amplifier. So online there was a little bit of debate whether or not we used the power antenna for the amp turn on. So I did use the Atoto power antenna wire to the Metra amp turn on. So on the Metra, the amp turn on is blue and white, and I wired that to the Atoto power antenna wire to give the amp power. Now I don't know what color that is off the top of my head. I'll put a description right here and I'll tell you what color that is. And then to get the steering wheel controls to work, I was really scared. I thought I messed it up, but what you're gonna want to go ahead and do is put the steering wheel plus and the steering wheel key plus. You're gonna want to twist those together with the 1N position wire on the Metra. So whatever color you make the 1N, that's what you're going to want to do. And then 1P, you're going to want to go ahead and put that into the ground, so on the black. So if you're going to solder them, you're going to have 3 wires to ground, black, on between the Metra here and the Atoto here. I'd put the 1P position in the ground as well, so that'll have 3. And then again, you're going to combine the SWC plus and the key plus, that's on the Atoto side. You're going to combine those, and then you're going to connect that with the 1N position on your Metra wiring, whatever color you make that again, and then that's going to work. Everything will work perfectly. And again, you're going to make the amp turn on the Metra, which is blue and white. You're going to make that, and you're going to connect that to power antenna. Everything will work perfectly, I promise. And in terms of wiring between Atoto and Metra, most of the wires are coordinated by color, but what I went ahead and did is I had the wiring diagram here from Metra, and then I had the Atoto booklet here as well, and I just took an afternoon. It didn't take too long. I was watching a movie on the side, and what I did was I soldered the wires together, and then I put some shrink wrap over most of them. And on the ones that I forgot to put the shrink wrap on one side, what I went ahead and did is I just taped up. But everything worked out really well, and it was not very hard at all. In addition to the 2 wiring kits, the dash kit and the head unit, I'd say it's pretty important to have a soldering iron and solder, as well as a very good crimper, and then some shrink wrap. And that is basically in order to go from the Metra wiring harness here to the Atoto wiring harness here. That's what I would recommend, and you definitely need that. And you need to pack your patience when you're doing your wiring, because that's going to make or break the install. Yes, so whoever installed the iPod connector for the factory head unit in my car in about 2006 didn't install any of the screws back, and they kind of just clipped the head unit in place. There's 4 clips that you pull on to remove it, and there should be 2 screws on the side. So I'd recommend that if you have an NC1, you watch another video on how to remove the head unit. And if you have an NC2 or an NC3, definitely watch another video, because you do have to remove underneath the shifter. Alrighty everybody, so for my NC1, in the other video on YouTube, this wiring was already free. This zip tie right here was removed, and that makes the job really hard to remove this wiring. This is the factory harness. I also had the iPod connector, like I said. It was Dice Electronics. This was kind of an aftermarket thing, so I don't think that you'll have that, but if you do, this was kind of a booger to take out as well. You needed a screwdriver here and everything, and you just popped it right out. This was a two-man job for me. I was gonna just cut the zip tie so I could get the wiring out, but as you can see right here, the wiring doesn't go any further than this. So what I went ahead and did is I removed the glove box, which is fairly easy. All you have to do is just take this string off, of the glove box, and then just pinch it on the sides. And I had to kind of put my hand through the glove box, so you can see it spits out right here, and I just pulled, like, you know, push the tab in, and then we just had to massage it and groove it out. And yeah, it was kind of a pain, but that's getting the NC1 stereo out. And then as far as the AC controls, here they are, and they just clicked right in there. And then same thing, you just kind of have to push this, and yeah, so that's out. So I'm gonna go ahead and test the Atoto A6 PF. So this is me essentially telling you guys that my wiring worked and how I got the steering wheel's controls to work after it didn't the way that I initially had wired it up. That's just my 1P ground, but if you guys put that and follow the directions that I laid out a little earlier in the video, you're not going to have to use this ground for the 1P or the steering wheel controls. Now, the thing that you will have to use this ground point for is the parking brake negative, and that's on a connector that is not on the main wiring harness that you see here that I'm showing you. That's on an additional connection. I don't install a backup cam on my head unit here, so that was pretty much the only wire I used on that plug-in to the Atoto. And what that is that's one of those little fisheye connections. If you don't have one of those, you can just expose the wire, strip it, and then you can wrap it around a bolt and nut that you have, a small one. Alright everybody, so this is my Metra dash kit, and as you know, this one does not come with the AC controls or the climate control knobs and stuff like that. So what you have to go ahead and do is unscrew it from the OEM one, and then you reuse those screws and just screw those in right there. There's 4 Phillips head screws. This clips right back in where you took it out, and it also comes with these white clips right here for a smooth and easy install. Now for mine, it came with the single DIN installed, and I went ahead and, I don't know if you can see, I used a knife and I sat there patiently and cut it out. So right now what I'm working on doing is installing the Atoto mounting hardware, and then I'm going to get it all right here into my dash kit, and then I'm going to finish everything off. Alrighty everybody, so right now we've got the Atoto A6 PF into my Metra dash kit, and again I'll link the exact product code, but this was for my NC1. You can see that I've got my climate control knobs in here, but to make it fit flush, what we went ahead and did is we did a little bit of a mod. So on this side right here, you can see that everything kind of lined up perfectly, and we were able to use these screws supplied by Atoto itself, and it lined up. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to also do that with the tab. You can see how it sits right in flush here on this side, but over here, it doesn't. So what we went ahead and did is we kind of got it attached, but it's not as it should be per se. But honestly, it's really, really snug in there. It's really tight. The head unit itself is very light, so that gives us more confidence to go ahead and mod it like this. And what some guys are doing on some forums is that they are modding this, or they're grinding it down, or whatever the case is. I think I'm very pleased with the way that we got it, and yeah, it looks really good. Now I just need to finalize all the wiring and we'll be good to go. So that green guy right there is the antenna. You just plug it in straight from the Miata, goes right in. Underneath it, there is a coax for the GPS unit that I left in the glove box. I also ran the USBs that you need. One is for your phone, and then one is for a USB. Just like an expandable storage if you want, or if you want to play a movie from it, you plug it in there. I ran those 3 leads to the glove box, and I could have cut into the dash a little bit. I didn't really feel like doing that, so I just left them in the glove box. My car has the factory cargo net, and that's where I'm going to leave my phone when I'm using CarPlay. And where those connect is right there next to one. I left one so you could see, and you plug in a bunch of different harnesses into there, and it just works really well. You've got all that space, because this is a mechless deck. You've got all that space to kind of stuff, and I use that word very loosely. Do not like jam your wires. Make sure they're tucked away properly, and everything will work perfectly. Another thing that I wanted to point out was that on my line out channels, I did not adjust the gain at all. So I went ahead and just plugged everything in, and it sounded really, really good, and I didn't want to adjust anything. So if that's just the way that it came from Atoto, I think they did a good job on my Miata, and I didn't adjust the gain knobs, which you can, but again, I didn't feel the need to do that. So as far as the microphone goes, everybody, what we went ahead and opted to do was put a small black self-trapping screw right here in the dash. That was a little painful, but you can't really see, especially with the cover on the mic. And what was nice is actually I went ahead and routed the wire through here, and the head unit is just here, so I had a lot of extra wire that I had to pull the slack, and I zip tied it to the same mounting bracket that I have my ground on my wiring, because I had to figure out the steering wheel controls. Now the cool thing about the wiring is, unfortunately, I had to go upside down underneath to route it, but you can see if you go down there exactly where I routed mine, you guys will be able to do the same thing. You can't really tell, especially from the steering wheel. You can't tell at all, actually. And it just doesn't interfere with anything. And again, this is the microphone supplied by Atoto. I'm going to just go ahead and voice over myself here. This is me I was filming an intro, but I'm going to use it as an outro. This is me showing that everything works. And yes, I would have loved to have made a step-by-step video, and unfortunately when I was removing my head unit, just the lighting was horrible, and this was the only day that I could realistically do it, so I wasn't able to do that. Again, I hope that this outline helps, and you can see here that this completely worked for me, 110%. I'm going to go ahead and use the steering wheel controls there. You can see the volume going up and everything like that. I'm going to take some time and learn the Atoto so I can give you guys kind of my final thoughts on the head unit. And again, this option for me was very cost effective, because for $199 you get the Atoto A6 PF. It comes with the line out channels that you need to retain the factory Bose head unit. The factory Bose amplifier. And for me, I know a lot of people don't like the way that the Bose sounds and the speakers. I think it's okay. This is kind of my fun car. My Nissan Frontier has a really, really great audio system from factory, so I just drive this car for fun, and I just needed CarPlay to work, and I wanted something that wasn't going to look all not factory, and I wanted the steering wheel controls to work. And to get those steering wheel controls to work without paying another $100 for the Access SW1 or whatever it is, this was great. 2 wiring harnesses were about $14, and I got everything I wanted to work. And I just had to understand the wiring for the line out channels, and after that I was off to the races, and it sounds phenomenal, guys. But I hope this video gives somebody the confidence to go ahead and try this as well. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Blazing Tech, and we'll catch you on the next one.